Both Purdue and Houston both went down last night, so they could be a new #1 team in the country when the new rankings come out. So let's take y'all Zach to school with New York Post basketball reporter Zach Braziller, because we got to get his thoughts on who should take the top spot. Zach, towards the night before, I guess Wednesday, and both #1 Purdue and Houston went down. Let's start by Purdue getting beat by Nebraska by 16 points. Is this a one-off loss for the Boilermakers, or were they exposed last night?
Yeah, look, Nebraska's good. I think Nebraska's a tournament team. They shot 14 of 22 from three. I wouldn't go nuts on losing on the road in conference play to a tournament team. There's nothing wrong with that. I know everyone loves to jump down Purdue's throat because of their shortcomings in March. Obviously last year, becoming the second #1 seed ever to lose in the first round. But no, I wouldn't go nuts on that. I just think, and then you have Houston losing, obviously, to Iowa State. I just don't think there's a great team. I think there are probably a handful of teams that you can argue could win it all and could make a Final Four. Obviously get into more of it, but I just think when you're looking at last night, it just shows that anyone could lose in the country on any night. There isn't one team that you can say, well, I expect them to make a Final Four. And I think that's good for the sport, and it's something we've really had the last few years.
Yeah, I got to give shout out to Nebraska. Purdue had 5 players score in double figures and still got beat by 16. So that shows that the Cornhuskers ain't corny out there in Omaha or Lincoln, wherever it's at. All right, move on to the nation's last undefeated team, #2 Houston. They were down 10 at the half. Cougars fought back in the second, but they still lost to Iowa State. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, look, it's a new world for Houston, being in the Big 12, where you're going to be challenged every night. This is not the American anymore. They're in the best conference in the country, so they're going to lose games. I mean, I was surprised, and look, I love Houston. I think they're fantastic. Every year they are physical. They play defense. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. I was surprised they were still undefeated just because they're now in this mighty conference. And, you going on the road, you're going to have games like this. It's just, it's going to happen. We've seen it all over the country. We've seen it with Arizona losing games. We've seen it with Duke and North Carolina dropping games, although not necessarily lately. Your conference play is a different animal. Going on the road in tough environments against a quality team. And look, Iowa State's a very good team. They're a tournament team. I don't think there's any question about that. And it's just, there's parity in this sport. You have teams that are older, experienced, and they're going to win games.
Welcome to Big 12 basketball, Houston. But like you said, this is great for basketball, especially when we're filling out our tournament brackets out in March and May. It's like the upsets. You're kind of getting a look into which teams can be dangerous and be a lower seeded teams once March and April hits. Tonight, man, we got #3 Kansas, #4 UConn, #5 Tennessee. All of these guys are in action. If all 3 of these teams win, who do you think should be the #1 team in the country? Take us back to school.
Kansas is going to be the #1 team. Granted, they win. They beat UConn head-to-head. I know the game was at Kansas, but to me, it'll be Kansas. There's no question about that. UConn obviously is right there in the mix. I do like Tennessee a lot. I think an argument can be made UConn's the best team in the country when healthy. They've managed to survive so far without their star center, Donovan Clingan. I love that team. I love their balance. They're terrific at both ends. Clingan changes so much for them just because he's such a force on the defensive end. He's such a great finisher on offense. And, but I got to give him credit. Without him, they found a way to beat St. John's. They found a way to beat Butler. They've kept winning despite his absence. Now, look, let's see it. Got a good test tonight at Xavier. It's a tough place to play. Xavier's a very good offensive team. It'll be interesting, but right now I think if they win out, you obviously go Kansas, because they're higher in the rankings, but they also beat UConn head-to-head.
Yeah, Kansas plays tonight. They have UCF, which should be a win, and then they have number 9 Oklahoma on Saturday. That'll be a great one as well. Zach Brazilla, man, thanks for taking us, Zach, to school.
Anytime.